We are here in beautiful and historic Laramie, Wyoming on November 4th, 2020. And I just wanted to show you some interesting features. There's this interesting swirl, right, of, quote, natural stone. It just formed, the geologists tell us. So let's go a little closer and see what we're looking at here. You see the layers, right? You see the layers. Oh, it's sedimentary because of the layers and stuff. Sorry, I have to just make fun of geology because it's what they're missing is so obvious. When we look at this feature, all we see is vertical lines cutting through sedimentary layers. Well, nature don't do that. See that vertical line right there? That's a seam in ancient concrete. So all these vertical lines are seams. So they laid this down, then they stopped and they laid this section down, right? Then they laid that section down, then they laid that section down. So you see the vertical lines. Okay, let's follow it. La-da-dee-dee-dee, all the way through. Now how does geology explain vertical lines going through what must be many periods, many different time periods, right? Vertical line, vertical line. So natural geology cannot explain vertical lines through sedimentary layers. So these aren't sedimentary layers. These are obviously concrete sections laid down left to right. This was meant to be here for some reason. And they built it. They built this little knob. And we know that they did because we look at the evidence instead of just surmising. So let's go over to this hillside and see what we can find over there. Below that deep, soft layer, the lighter color, we have extremely hard material. So here's the edge of the creek bank. They built this exactly as we see it. Nice hard material. But up here, as the creek rises, it comes and erodes this material. And you can see, pretty interestingly, the horizontal line through, quote, sedimentary layers, but the horizontal line doesn't go at the same angle. So how did nature make a horizontal line that goes 10 feet, 12 feet when the sedimentary layers are going like this? Let's get closer. So you see the problem for geology. They cannot explain this, but the terraforming theory explains it perfectly. The ancients laid down these super thin layers first, then they stopped at a certain level, okay? And they laid that one thin, slightly harder layer, and we can see that edge, okay? Then they kept going above it using that same diagonal rightward leaning method, right? And then just above that, going horizontal. Interesting, right? So rightward leaning, I'd say it's a 45 degree. Let's look closely. Let's see if that's a 45. I think it is. So 45 degree angle to the horizontal. But then, as it comes around, that becomes horizontal. I mean, it's astounding what they did. Because that's intentional. That's not, oh, we made a mistake. So for some reason they did that. So we're close up on this little hillside, and we get really close in these thin layers, and we notice what they did, okay? See the shadows underneath each thin layer? So that shadow is because a softer layer was eroded over time. So what the ancients did, as hard as it is for us to believe it, they laid these super thin layers. I'm gonna put my hand there so you can see the scale, okay? That's how thin these layers are. All right, still strong though. Wow, still strong, amazing. Wow, these are really, really, really strong, huh? Wow. All right, so then they laid alternating soft layers. So alternating hard and soft layers for earthquake mitigation and for ecological terraforming. In other words, the soft layers come out and it forms this soil for plants to grow in. Now here in Laramie, it's really, really cold. and the climate is not fully the responsibility of the ancients. Let's move over here and see what's happening over here. Now we're going to move in slowly and we're going to look at the vertical lines through this quote sedimentary material. And then you say, wait, how is nature making one straight line through natural layers? See those lines? So, and the smooth faces on the right of all those lines. So we know that this is building. They built left to right in sections. That's what those vertical lines are, is the end of one section, right? And they left it smooth on the end. So we're seeing interior faces of sections because this material slowly comes out. But it is super hard. I mean, shockingly hard, really hard. Laid down in layers. There's a layer. There's a layer. And each layer has thin layers. So we see how incredibly meticulous the ancients were. Then a softer layer above that's coming down, making soil, ecological terraforming, and then alternating hard and soft layers up there, section faces. So that's our creek bank. We can surmise that the 45-degree angle of this lower section was planned specifically for structural strength. Why else would they do it? But then it goes horizontal at that same level until it goes 45 again. So it's interesting. I see. Well, it looks like for the outcroppings, the material is coming toward us in this curving creek bank. They're buttressing it underneath with 45-degree material. Interesting. And that goes all the way over there. Yeah, so that's probably what it was. A little bit of extra support with the 45-degree material. So let's ask ourselves the question, what has geology been doing for hundreds of years? Why doesn't it look at the material? Where are the geologists? I don't see any geologists. I don't see any field researchers. I don't see any geology professors. I don't see any geology students. In my over 1,000 hours of field research on 3 continents, Africa, Eurasia, North America, I've never met a geologist. I've never seen anybody. It's just me out here. I'm a playwright. So let's ask ourselves what the quote experts have been doing with their time. Where are they? Why aren't they out with the stone, as they call it? It's concrete. It's ancient concrete. Why aren't they looking at the vertical section lines and wondering what those are? Why are they calling them fractures or cracks when they're clearly straight lines that go through the material, right? More straight lines, right? More straight lines. All we see is straight lines going through the material, right? More straight lines going through the material. That's all we see. Geology, no, we're not going to take note of that. We're just going to ignore that. Don't ask us about the straight lines. Just talk about sedimentary layers. That's all we want to do. Time periods. Let's ignore the straight lines, says geology. Well, the terraforming theory just goes with the evidence. So, they built left to right. See how integral? Perfect. Really strong. Super strong. It's lasted the ages. We don't know what the ages are. Millions of years? Tens of millions? Hundreds of millions? The timelines are in question, okay? Timelines are in question. So check out my video Timelines that's coming out from Northern California, which has a little discussion about possibilities, calcium carbonate, and other things that may give us clues to the ancient building, when it happened, and perhaps even who the builders were. This is Jock Doubleday reporting from a beautiful creek bank built by the ancients. Obviously, right? All the indications are that it was built, not natural. And we are here in Laramie, Wyoming, having a good time out in the field, unlike the geologists of yesteryear and the geologists of present day, I must add. I hope everyone has a scientific day.